Hello. Happy Sunday. Mm. I'm dehydrated and I'm consuming too much dairy. Nonetheless, I want to come on and talk about being a woman and my experience of being a woman who's also employed as well as being a woman. So I've just come off watching a Lily Pebbles video. And in it again, she says, "I'm not working today." And then goes on seconds later to list all of the things she's got to do that day, which includes editing the video that she's recording. But still maintains that she's not working. This is a really dangerous mindset. And I can completely 100% remember what it felt like to me when I stopped being employed, because I felt that if I wasn't employed, I wouldn't be allowed to rest. I couldn't justify stopping because it wasn't acknowledged that keeping a tidy home, taking care of my body, cooking meals, cleaning the house, doing the paperwork for bills and general admin, all of the work that was on top of my job wasn't seen as work. So when I stopped working and I carried on having to do all of the other things that we have to do, and then I needed a rest or I was tired or I couldn't face it, I felt so sick at the thought of other people questioning what I needed to rest for because I wasn't working. And the fear that I was traumatized by stopping being employed, by not taking employment or not being able to become employed, was so real. The fear was so gripping and so terrifying because I thought, well, now I can never stop, because if I'm perceived by the people who love me the most, my partner, my mother, my parents, my friends, to not be working or employed, how can I ever justify sitting down on the sofa for half an hour? How can I ever justify going for a facial? How can I ever justify still wanting to go to the shops and having retail therapy, or buying, replacement shoes because my trainers are worn out, or buying nice clothes or dresses to fit my body because my body shape's changed? All of this dread just compounded into this crippling fear of stopping employment. And I think the reason why I clung on so tightly to that delineation between work only meaning employment or not was because I couldn't mentally cope with not justifying being able to rest. And then as I got older, I realized it is all work, and employment and work are different. And if I charged for doing all of those other things, it would be classed as employment and work, and that's the only difference. So what I've realized that I've been doing is sort of resting to stave off complete exhaustion, but never reaching a full state of restedness, and then from a state of restedness relaxing. So I've been constantly topping up a cup, but not ever enjoying my cup being consistently full to a point where what gets used is just natural overflow. And that a genuine fear that if I'm perceived to be relaxed for a prolonged period of time, that it means I'm not trying or I'm not putting any effort in, and that the only way I can show that I work or that I contribute or that I am doing things or that I am valuable or that I'm worthy of respect or care or love or attention is to be visibly, or like to talk about how much I have to do, how much I've done, or how tired I am, or for that to be known, or how busy I am, so that people can't say that I've not been equal to my partner, who's a man. And I kind of did myself a disservice then, because when it came to me not being employed and I'm in this relationship with this person, they then believe or can't understand that even though I'm not employed, I still get tired, still get exhausted. I'm not constantly relaxed or renewing my energy because I'm still doing all of the other things that have to be done. And then some, because people go, oh, well, she's not working, so she can do more. So I did myself a disservice. And, you know, I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid disorder, which was my metabolism. I was put on prescription medication, which was just like, well, I've never taken drugs, but I would imagine what it was like to constantly be on speed. So my body was feeling lethargic, and I went to the doctors. Like, it was like severe, like I couldn't move. And they said, you've got a thyroid disorder where you've gone from an overactive thyroid and it's reversed and now you have an underactive thyroid. Here, take these tablets. But that was my body's way of literally forcing me to stop. And instead of stopping, I took the tablets and then carried on the same lifestyle that brought me very much to a brink of death. Like, it is a potentially fatal condition, overactive thyroid disorder, which was what I was originally suffering with. So basically, the doctors just gave me a load of speed and were just like, this is legal speed. This means you don't have to stop even though your body is like on the brink of dying. Take this legal speed and you can carry on living the life that brought you to this brink of death in the first place. And one of the most empowering things I've experienced on my journey was to learn that ultimately I decide what I put in my body, and it didn't feel right, and I took it for years and years and years and kind of forged on, and eventually something had to give. And I was also like diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, which they changed to chronic pain disorder, and fibromyalgia. And all of these were like exhaustion related, and like my body was so tender. I physically was collapsing basically from like my body was just being like, stop, now, stop. It doesn't matter what the medical health profession have told you. It doesn't matter that you're taking this medication, because they will give you another condition to have to manage and more medication to take, and you will not feel any better for taking it. And after being consistently diagnosed all the time with these energy conditions and these tablets after tablets after tablets, I was like, this isn't solving my fucking problem. This is just creating more problems. And I realised that my physical fatigue and pain was stemming from my mental perspective. I can't stop or I'll die. That was how I was living. Like, I literally cannot stop or I will die. In amongst this, I found myself to be in really abusive, toxic dynamics with family members, with work, with jobs, my relationship with my output, my capacity to do things. And I stupidly signed up to university and took on a degree at just lots of like really not good things because I was taught by the medical system that if I take these tablets, I still have a chance at a normal life and normal functioning. So I didn't stop doing anything. I was like, I can be disabled with chronic disability that I'm going to supposedly have this lifelong condition that I have to take medication for every day for the rest of my life, and I can still achieve all of these things. I went to a grammar school, which is a really academic, high pressure school. We compete in the league tables nationally. It is pretty hardcore, and I couldn't shake this mentality that to give up meant that I was somehow taking the easy option. It meant that I was lazy. It meant that I didn't care. When actually the message I was giving to my body and all the people around me ultimately was that I don't care about me. I don't care about myself because I'm still going to take on these huge life-changing challenges whilst I'm not well. And take these tablets and go to my appointments and, you know, deal with all that mentally and emotionally as well. Then my grandmother passed away, you know, around the same time my grandfather had had a stroke. My stepsister's daughter was in a NICU ward, a critical care unit in hospital, and passed away at like near 7 months old. The amount of emotional family burden and trauma that I was under as an innately giving, maternal, loving person was so crippling, so painful. Watching my family go through my granddad's stroke and then the burden falling to my nan to take care of him at home, and then my nan dying a matter of months later because the family was so fucking wrapped up in their own bullshit lives and careers and what cars they drove and being the children of the family still because nan was still alive, and nan's house being this place where we all went to rest. Nobody actually bothered to ask if she needed help. No one. Because they couldn't even ask themselves or acknowledge themselves within their own adult lives when they needed help. So it wasn't that they were being mean or nasty or ignorant, but because they couldn't show themselves the same courtesy of knowing when to stop, knowing when to rest, when to cut back on work hours, when to not take on extra jobs or extra work, or when to ask for help or be like, I need to employ someone to do this bit instead of me doing it all. I need to know when to stop. None of us did know how to do that. And because Grandad had had the stroke, he got all the attention and all the care from us when we were there. But then when we weren't there, he was ordering my nan about because he felt embarrassed that he couldn't do things. So she martyred on and like suddenly died. But it wasn't suddenly, because she spent a lifetime doing everything for everyone, and she worked full time raising 3 children until she retired. So I came off the medication because I was like, this feels wrong. Like, my body was so sensitive and I was just like, this is making me sick. And I kept getting told by medical professionals and by my family that I was being rude and disrespectful to these doctors for not taking their advice. And they've trained for years, Katrina, to be